welcome to my channel. My name's Charlotte and this is Peculiar Patman. This is the channel where we talk about true crime and unusual topics. Today on our new series of Parents from Hell, we'll be discussing the case of Claire Biggs and her boyfriend Paul Husband and how they tortured and unalived her son and were convicted in 2009. I do want to give a pre-warning that today's episode is going to be quite graphic and there'll be talk about child neglect, child abuse, so viewer discretion is advised. All sources can actually be found below. Claire Biggs, who's 27, and Paul Husband, who was 33, who was also her boyfriend, even though his last name's Husband. Got a bit confused by that, but we moved. So they lived in a one-bedroom flat in Newham, London, where they looked after Claire's son, Reese, looked after. So Paul Husband, which is the boyfriend in this case, he was actually convicted in Scotland in 1993 for a string of sort of violent crimes. And along with that, he did actually have a unlawful sexual encounter with this 7-year-old. So, we're not getting off to a good start. Nuts! He's a nuts! So our victim in today's case is 2-month-old Reese. He was born in 2006 and unfortunately he died in 2006 as well. He lived with Claire and Paul, which is Claire's boyfriend, not husband. Unfortunately, there's not a lot that was actually known about him, probably just due to the fact that he's so young and you can't really have that much information on children on the internet. It's just not really good. And probably just due to the fact that he just wasn't that old. And she sort of kept him away from everyone and everything, which we'll go into later on in the video. So what was known from his bringing up is that it was very poor. He was only allowed to sort of sleep in their bed as they didn't have anything in the other room, it being a one-bedroom flat. He did have his father, which only actually managed to see him twice in his whole life, which is very sad. And Mr. Branson's 34 years old and is actually currently pressing charges after what's happened. So as well as Paul actually having criminal charges, having unlawful sex with a 7-year-old, nonce, she was no angel, she was a crackhead. She loved the old crack. So as well as Paul actually having criminal convictions to do with violence and unlawful sex acts on a child, Claire was no exception. She was just as bad. She was actually a crackhead, and even though it says on a lot of sources that she was a former crackhead, there's no way of really telling that she might have still been on it when she was doing all of this stuff. So, yeah, because a lot of it was saying, former crackhead, she's a crackhead, once a crackhead, always a crackhead. I mean, the stuff she was doing, she probably was on crack. So, allegedly, she could have been on crack while all of this was happening. So Claire did actually have a baby before. It was, however, taken away just purely because she's a crackhead and babies don't really mix. So it did have a risk assessment done and they said, no, she can't have it, put it into care. And then so she's had Reese and there was no assessment done, just basically because she had sort of sussed out the authorities by this point. She thought, you know what, I'm going to play a cat and mouse game with you and I'm going to keep rescheduling appointments and keep cancelling them. So that's what she and Paul did. They'd mess around with them quite a bit and it just got to the point where the authorities just thought, okay, no worries, don't need to do an assessment here. I'm sure there was more to it, to the point where they kept trying to do it. And I mean, 2 months, you hear these cases that go on for about 6 months and then they take them to court, but 2 months is actually nothing in comparison, thinking about that time. Which, I don't know, like, I'm sorry to intervene here and put my opinion, but surely if someone is constantly rescheduling, like, yeah, fair enough, maybe do it once or twice. Not even that, though. Like, if it's a child, like a baby, and you know, like, not even that, like, before, you know that they're a crackhead, you know that they've had their child taken into care, like, there's some cause for concern there, so surely that should be, like, your priority to be having a look. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is stupid. Stupid. Please be warned that the next part is very graphic. Claire repeatedly crushed his chest and she fractured and broke 13 to 17 of his ribs. Different sources are saying that they're all broken, some of them are saying fractured, some of them are saying 13 ribs, some of them are saying 17, so there's different ones. So we know that they're between 13 and 17, some are broken, some are fractured. She also broke his right wrist twice and his shoulder. So it was later revealed in court that in order for these injuries to happen, they would have had to done this really severely, so it would have caused extreme pain. I mean, even though it's a baby, your body is still really, really strong, and I cannot imagine what that child must have gone through. He, on top of that, had to sleep in a bed with them both. I know he's only a child, but the thing is, you may say, I don't remember anything as a baby, which, yeah, a lot of people don't, but you have it subconsciously. There's things you will grow up not realising that that's actually from your childhood. So, I mean, there's a lot of cases with people that are actually murderers, people that turn out the way they do, people that are rapists. They're basically like that, usually because of something that's happened to them in their childhood. Not always, but that's a really, really common trend. So after Reese's death, they looked around the apartment and unfortunately they found blood-splattered clothing from Reese. So it just goes to show how severe the beatings that he would have had to put up with, which, I honestly don't understand. Like, when you properly think about stuff, how can people actually do this kind of stuff? Like, I look at a baby and I just think, oh, I want to hold it. Like, I just want to cuddle it. It's got squidgy cheeks, but people just absolutely in the mind. On the 8th of May 2006, unfortunately, Reese passed away. There were various tests done to see if the injuries that Claire actually inflicted on her own son would have been the cause for his death. However, nothing was actually proven. So with that, her and Paul were put on a lesser sentence and were only done for child cruelty. So Claire actually tried to convey her own innocence by saying that her boyfriend, Paul, abused her and sexually abused her to the point where she didn't know what she was doing, that she had no control over anything. So, don't really know how that one works out, how that makes zero sense to me at all. Don't know, she sounds like a narcissist. Like, she is actually a narcissist. Like, she's the victim and everything, and oh no, I didn't hurt my baby, but yeah. So Claire's little attempt at trying to say that she was innocent failed, obviously, but she still only got 8 years in prison, which in my opinion is disgusting, because it's just, there's no words for it. And Paul, the boyfriend, he actually got 2 years, which again is absolutely disgusting, because you don't know, he could have been doing some of this harming, and the fact that he got 2 years was because he wasn't reporting any of this, and he wasn't helping him out, which I just find absolutely disgusting. If you're seeing this going on and you're not reporting it or not helping or just saying, like, you need to stop that now, it's disgusting. Like, if you're not a fan of a child being there, then give it to someone else, give it to care so the baby can have a proper growing up. I just don't, it's just disgusting that she had to use a baby as a punching bag for her own sad issues or just crackhead antics. So after Reese's passing, Claire actually ended up having 2 more children with a different man. Sources don't really suggest when this was, though it does say after his passing, so it leads us to believe he passed away in 2006 and they were actually convicted in 2009. So there is a little bit of leeway to be popping out some children. And she went to prison for 8 years. Sources, again, they don't say whether she came out earlier or not. Claire can no longer have children due to medical reasons. Claire went to prison and she was not the most popular of ladies there, to a point where she got bullied quite a bit, and to the point as well where her fellow inmates, who were not her fellow friends, her fellow inmates, they actually battered her with a metal garden hose attachment and a wooden plank. They beat her with it, or battered as the sources say, and she actually went to hospital and she did come out for a week. So karma, not really karma, because obviously it would have got a lot worse, but you deserve it. You literally deserve it. Mr. Branson, who's Reese's actual dad, he sued Camden and Newham London Council just purely because they didn't look at this case properly and just their failure to realise the risk of everything. So hopefully this actually raises awareness. So that's the end of today's case. It's a very, very sad one. So 2 years and 8 years, which in my opinion is not enough at all. It's so sad that there weren't more precautions taken just to sort of see what's going on. I mean, 2 months is literally nothing, and the fact that they should have just been doing checks from day one, saying she's had a risk on her first child, we need to keep up to date with this, we need to put this one on the risk list just in case. They haven't gone to prison for passing or unaliving anybody, so I mean they've done it for child cruelty, so surely if they can find new evidence in future they'll be able to put them in prison for a long, long time. So that's all in today's case and this video. Thank you so much if you made it this far for my first video. I hope it's not too boring. Please like, subscribe, and give me a comment if there's anything that you want to maybe listen to in future. Any unusual topics, I'll be going through some, hopefully. And yeah, I chose this case today because there's not really anything on the internet about this. I mean, there was a couple of written sources about it, but on YouTube as a whole, there was only really like news things. There wasn't anybody actually talking about it. So yeah, have a lovely day and bye bye. I don't know what I was gonna say. She's a crackhead, dude. Oh my god. She's. Start again. What the hell am I going on about? I can't figure out basic math. In 2000 and pass. Golden? Oh, what's a golden? Yeah, baby, yeah.